It was supposed to be a simple, carefree night, just a group of girls catching up at a cozy little wine bar downtown. We'd been planning it for weeks, and ironically, it was Daniel, my husband, who pushed me to go. "Enjoy yourself," he'd said with that calm, reassuring smile. "You deserve a break. I'll pick you up later." His words warmed me in that quiet, familiar way that always did. It felt good knowing he supported me like that. The night started perfectly. Soft music played in the background. Glasses clinked, and laughter drifted from our table like the old days. We were swapping stories, teasing each other about husbands, boyfriends, and the chaos of dating. Everything felt light and easy until I said something I shouldn't have. We had started talking about relationships, about loyalty, and how hard it can be to keep things exciting. I still don't know what came over me. Maybe the wine, maybe wanting to sound funny or clever. But I leaned back, twirled my glass, and said with a smirk, "Well, if Daniel ever slips up, I'll just find myself a younger guy to keep me company." Everyone burst into laughter. My best friend nearly spit out her drink. Another clapped like I'd just delivered the line of the night. For a moment, I laughed with them, feeling witty, bold, even a little admired. Then the laughter started to fade. I sensed it before I saw it. A subtle shift in the air behind me. I turned, and there he was. Daniel stood in the doorway. He must have come early to surprise me. His face was calm, but his eyes were locked on mine, unreadable. The sound in the room seemed to disappear. My smile fell instantly. "Daniel," I stammered, setting my glass down too quickly. "I was just joking." He didn't move, didn't blink, just slowly shook his head, like he'd finally seen something he'd been trying not to. "A joke," he said quietly, his voice calm but cold. Funny how the truth hides inside jokes. And then he turned and walked out. Panic flooded me. I stumbled after him, heels echoing against the floor. Outside, he was already unlocking the car. "Daniel, please." It was nothing, I swear. Just a stupid joke. I grabbed his arm, desperate for him to look at me. When he finally did, I saw no anger, only disappointment. "You think that's funny?" he asked softly. "Making me the punchline? Acting like I'm replaceable? You humiliated me, right there in front of everyone." I froze. I hadn't seen it that way. To me, it had been harmless teasing. But to him, it was public disrespect, disguised as humor. "Daniel, you know I love you," I whispered. "I didn't mean it like that. I'd never." He looked at me for what felt like forever. Then, still calm, he said, "Sometimes the things people say while trying to be funny show who they really are. You made me feel small tonight. And I'm not sure I can keep standing next to someone who laughs at me." He got into the car, closed the door, and drove away, leaving me under the streetlights, the night suddenly silent. My friend stood awkwardly in the doorway of the bar, unsure what to do. The walk home felt endless. My phone buzzed with messages from them, little words of comfort, promises that he'd cool off. But none of it helped. All I could hear was the echo of my own laughter, mocking me. Later, Daniel told me he wasn't angry, that he knew I was only joking. He brushed it off, but I could feel the shift. Something deep inside had cracked. This wasn't just a fight. It was a quiet breaking point. The next morning, he was gone. Half his clothes were missing from the closet, and on the kitchen table lay a note in his familiar handwriting. "I need space. Words matter. Until you understand that, I don't think we can move forward." I sat there, the paper trembling in my hands, the weight of what I'd done finally sinking in. One careless comment, one thoughtless attempt at humor, and I'd driven away the man who had always been patient and kind to me. Days turned into weeks. He never came back. My calls went unanswered. My messages were left on read. I even went to his office once, but his secretary gently told me he wasn't available. At first, I was furious. How could he leave over something so small? But as time passed and I replayed that night again and again, the truth started to settle in. It wasn't just a joke. It was humiliation wrapped in laughter. I'd made him a butt of a joke, stripped away his pride in front of strangers. And worse, I'd shown him that my friends laughed him at more to me than his dignity. People think betrayal only comes from lies or cheating. But sometimes it's much smaller. hidden in careless words that cut deep and leave scars no one can see. Months later, I heard he'd moved in with his brother across town. He wasn't seeing anyone, but he wasn't coming back either. His silence was final. My joke had been the last straw. I still see those same friends now and then, but things are different. Their laughter feels cautious, restrained. Maybe they see the regret written all over my face. Or maybe they still remember the way Daniel looked that night. The look of a man realizing that the woman he loved didn't truly respect him. Now I live with the quiet he left behind, a heavy kind of silence. The kind that reminds you, every single day, that one careless moment of laughter can cost you something you'll never get back. And whenever someone shrugs off a hurtful comment with, "Relax, it's just a joke," I flinch, because I know better than anyone just how devastating just a joke can be.